Hello, everybody. Welcome to Monday Morning Must Know. My name is Merlin Rothfeld, and what a great week we had last week. Almost all the major market indexes, NASDAQ, S&P, Russell, closing higher for the week. You had big moves up in crude oil, which broke out of sideways consolidation. You had airlines flying, surging to the upside off fantastic earnings. But of course, can't all be good news. Tesla getting crushed off bad earnings, as well as commodities selling off a little bit. But we'll start things off with what I usually like to start with, which is the earnings calendar. There's a lot. And of course, we saw airlines and Tesla last week. But what do we have cooking for this week? Well, as you can see on the screen here, 486 companies are reporting. Start things off on Monday with a bit of a snooze fest. You've got Nucor and Ryanair, but then the fireworks really begin. This is going to be mostly after market close on Tuesday. Microsoft, you have Google, AMD, Pfizer, UPS, Starbucks, and Model N. Microsoft and Google are the ones to watch. Microsoft, of course, the biggest company and one of the most influential for the equity markets after market close, as well as Google. So that will be a big impact on Wednesday's trading session. Speaking about Wednesday, we have Novo Nordisk, you've got MasterCard, Novartis, Thermo Fisher, Qualcomm, Boeing, and Boston Scientific. And then probably the biggest day of January. Well, actually, we're now into February. On Thursday, take a peek at what we got cooking here. You have Apple, Amazon, Meta, Merck, Shell, Honeywell, and Altria. Those top three, Apple, Amazon, and Meta, make a significant portion of the index for the NASDAQ 100. So there's going to be a ton of volatility there. Be extremely careful. Those, again, will be after hours, which means we will see the true impact of that on Friday's session, which brings us ExxonMobil, Chevron, and AbbVie. Now, with all that, we have a ton of volatility potential for these markets. The biggest, most volatile days will most likely be Wednesday and Friday. Now, I would not recommend trying to trade these companies because, as you've seen, a company can report great earnings and have a big sell-off, or have horrible earnings and shoot the moon, or crash. You just never know. It's just unpredictable. What it will do is create a lot of volatility for those markets, again, on Wednesday and on Friday, so be very careful with those two sessions. Now, I want to shift focus and move to central banks. It's not just the U.S. We've got two banks to speak of, so let's get going. We'll start things off with, Mr. Grin, Jerome Powell. Yes, he's looking nice and smug in this picture. On Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time is when they make their rate announcement. But that's not the important part. We know pretty much what it's going to be. It's expected to be 5.5%. Right now, there's a 97% probability of that happening. Anything could change between now and then, but right now, expected to stay the same. What we are interested in is what happens at the press conference, which happens 30 minutes after that on Wednesday at 2:30 Eastern Time, and that is where you are starting to see journalists grill Jerome Powell about where are interest rates going? What is your policy? Where do you see strength and weakness in the economy? And a lot of that information starts to create expectations about the next rate announcement, which will happen in a few weeks. So keep an eye on not just the rate announcement, which is at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, but also the press conference, which happens shortly after that. But we're not done. I got to go across the pond and look at the Bank of England, which also has a rate statement on Thursday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. They are expected to stay right at 5.25 as well, but they do something slightly different. They have this thing called the MPC bank rate votes, which is going to be right at that same time, Thursday at 7 a.m. And what this is the voting members at the Bank of England, all 9 of them, cast their vote for what they want to do with rates. And at the previous meeting, 3 said to raise, 0 said to lower, and 6 said stay the same. So it was 3-0-6. So we'll see what the stance is from those voting members on their current rate situation. If that shifts at all, that could, of course, have a big impact on the British pound for all my Forex traders out there. Oh, but wait, we're not done. We've got to talk about jobs because I have 5 pieces of jobs data. You're like, Merlin, enough. There's so much information. I know. I'm going to lay it on you right here. We'll start things off with the JOLTS job openings Tuesday at 10 a.m. The second biggest announcement for the week is going to be the ADP non-farm employment change on Wednesday at 8:15 a.m. Thursday is your standard unemployment claims. And then Friday, the big daddy, the unemployment rate and non-farm employment change on Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, of course, there is so much information happening this week. From my perspective, the most influential one will not be Jerome Powell on Wednesday. That's important, but it's pretty much factored in. The wild cards right now are going to be the Apple, Amazon, Meta, Google, and Microsoft earnings. Those are incredibly important and are going to be extremely volatile. So I would say this week is one of those weeks where it's really important that you err on the side of caution. Don't try to trade those crazy, Microsoft, Meta stuff. stay away from that. It's going to be too volatile. It's fun to watch, but it will give you some opportunities after they report earnings on the next trading sessions, which is why I think Wednesday and Friday will probably be the best trading days of the week. That, my friends, is your Monday Morning Must-Knows. We'll see you next week.